Hello, buddy, and welcome to a short update on now recently named Tropical Storm Josephine here in Atlantic, here out in the open Atlantic. At this point in time, you can see that new burst of convection firing off just to the north of the center of circulation there in the last few frames before the sun sets over Tropical Storm Josephine, and you can see the center of circulation right about where my mouse cursor is traveling on, um, exposed by some resided wind shear that's still kind of shearing the storm a little bit over time here. And then here's some IR imagery of the storm Josephine here, and you can see earlier it also produced a decent burst of convection, and now right about as the sun was setting, produced another area of really deep convection just to the north of where the actual center of circulation is. The center of circulation is a little bit south of that area, so that's why it's not a stronger storm than it is right now. Here's the forecast cone from the National Hurricane Center as of their latest advisory on it. As of 5 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time, Advisory 9, Thursday, August 13th, 2020. National Hurricane Center latest forecast cone has the center at 14.5 degrees north, 50.6 degrees west. Maximum sustained 1 minute winds are at 45 miles per hour. And it's moving to the west northwest at 16 miles per hour. And Josephine is expected to peak as a 60-mile-an-hour tropical storm before it starts to gradually weaken on out before it heads near Bermuda here later into next week there. As you can see in the time frame, let's go ahead and look at the forecast discussion here. You can stop the video right now and read the entire forecast discussion. I'm not going to read this here, but you can stop the video right now and read that if you want to. And you can see they have a peak as a 60 mile per hour tropical storm in about 24 hours from now. And eventually gradually lowering in intensity, eventually becoming a tropical depression in 96 hours from now from this advisory as of 21 UTC today. Also wanted to quickly mention here's the remnants of what used to be um, Hurricane Elida in the Eastern Pacific here peaked as a 100-mile-an-hour Category 2 hurricane, and now you can see it's barely anything. You can just see some high cirrus clouds to its north there of what used to be a Category 2 hurricane. Rapidly weakened last night, and now, well, it was post-tropical, became post-tropical last night as well too, and is now no longer a named storm. And you can see it barely, you can probably barely see its remnants here. Let me see if we could go to visible really quick here, and you can see the center circulation a little bit better using this imagery because it's visible imagery, and you can see there the remnant circulation of what used to be Category 2 Hurricane Elida there in the East Pacific that fortunately posed no threat to land. And then also in the East Pacific, we have another area to watch here. This is a Tropical Depression 10E, currently going on in the Eastern Pacific here. And the center of circulation isn't where that big burst of convection is, or that small burst of convection is. It's actually just to the north of that. You can see that evidently better here in the visible imagery because the storm is also being sheared as well. Right on top of it, and you can see that center of circulation spinning right about where my mouse cursor is there, being sheared by the looks of it to the northeast there, from the northeast rather, I should say there. So that's why that one's still a tropical depression. And it's forecast to become a 40-mile-an-hour tropical storm and kind of meander around this general region before gradually decreasing in intensity and eventually turning into a tropical depression and dissipating over time here. And here's the latest forecast cone for tropical depression 10E. You can see this is the latest cone, and you can see it has a kind of just meandering around this area. Fortunately, nowhere near any land masses of any type, so this is not going to be a flooding threat or wind threat or any type of threat for any coastline here. Really only going to be a problem for any shipping interests along this part of the world here. And you can see as of the latest update, Tropical Depression 10E as of Thursday, August 13th, 2020, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Advisory 3. As of the National Hurricane Center latest forecast cone, they have the center at 13.8 degrees north, 130.6 degrees west. Maximum sustained 1 minute winds are at 35 miles per hour, which still makes it a tropical depression, and moving to the due west at 9 miles per hour. And then here's the forecast discussion for this storm, and you can see again they have a peak as a 40-mile-an-hour tropical storm in about 12 hours from this forecast here, and then eventually just gradually weaken from there on out over time there. And thankfully, again, at this point in time, no threat to any land areas. If this gets named, it'll be called Tropical Storm Fausto. I believe that's how you say it, Fausto, in the Eastern Pacific if that gets named. In terms of other activity currently going on in the East Pacific, you can see other than 10E, we have two other areas of interest here. We got one disturbance number one there. You can read the entire discussion there if you want to. I'm not going to read it, but I'm just going to say formation chance for the next 48 hours is a high 80% chance of forming into at least a tropical depression strength storm, and also through the next 5 days, a high 90% chance of formation throughout the next 5 days there into at least a tropical depression strength storm. And disturbance number two to the southeast of that. I'll also read the formation chances. Formation chance within the next 48 hours, also uh, a low 20% chance of formation, and then formation chance for the next 5 days, a high 70% chance of forming into at least a tropical depression strength storm, or higher than that over time here. And you can see the latest forecast description below that as well. In Atlantic, we also have another area of interest as well, as we're nearing peak part of the season here. Well, not peak, not the peak part of the season, I should say, but near where activity is forecast to ramp back up here. Unfortunately, as we near the peak areas of the season here, especially as we get into early mid-September here over time. You can see there's another area of interest here in the Atlantic Basin. You can see disturbance one. You can read the entire forecast discussion there if you want to, but you can see below that formation chance through the next 48 hours is a low 30%, and formation chance through the next 5 days is a low 30%. Unfortunately, it's going to be moving away from land and won't be impacting land, the U.S. at least, anytime soon, other than it is now. It's going to be moving away from the U.S. Only real threat to land may be the Azores later on, probably when it, if it does develop and become a tropical depression or storm, probably when it's weak on a weakening trend over there. But of course, we'll see over time if that changes or not. And then lastly, before I go, you can see there's another disturbance in the Central Pacific here. 50% chance of formation throughout the next 5 days, and 20% chance of formation throughout the next 48 hours here. And you can see the forecast description below there too as well. So just also something to note there. And also remember to keep up on the latest on current activity in the tropics and current activity along the United States. For the United States, go to the National Weather Service, or type nws.gov or just NWS, and it'll probably be what on the top result on whatever search browser you're using. And you know you're on the correct site when you see this here. For the latest information on what's currently going on, you could click in different regions, like in Florida, and get your latest forecast office there, and see what they forecast for your area there. Same goes for the National Hurricane Center here. They focus on the tropics here, tropical activity in the Central Pacific, Eastern Pacific, and Atlantic here in the Atlantic basins. And you'll be on the correct site when you see this page here. It'll take you straight to this page, and you know you're on the correct page when you see all this information right in front of you here. And just type up nhc.noaa.gov, or just type nhc.gov, or just nhc on whatever search browser you're using, and again, it'll be on the first result. And if it's not on the first result, you'll know if you're on the correct site or not when you see this in front of your screen here, this entire layout in front of your screen. That's pretty much going to be about it for me. Again, Tropical Storm Josephine, something to watch. At this point in time, poses no threat to land besides maybe Bermuda as a weakening, probably remnant storm by that point, but we'll see, of course. Things can, of course, change really quickly. In Atlantic, we've seen seasons before this and many times during this season here, so keep you updated on the latest of the storm. One thing actually I want to tell you before I let you go here is that the formation of Tropical Storm Josephine marks the earliest formation of a J named storm in the Atlantic Basin since they started naming storms, and I believe it was the mid or late 50s there in the North Atlantic Basin. So quite another remarkable to see that happen again, another record broken. The previous record was held by Tropical Storm Jose in 2005, and that formed on August 22nd. This formed, of course, on Tropical Storm Josephine, that is, formed on August 13th. So over a week out, the storm beat that previous record by. So there's something interesting to note there. So keep an eye on the tropics here. Keep an eye on your local officials and stuff over the next coming days. And this is, of course, a great time while we're kind of in a little lull of activity before stuff gets picking back up again. Stuff starts to pick up back again to make sure you're prepared for any hurricane threats you may get this season, and a good time to look over your hurricane preparedness kit if you need to update anything or add anything new to them at this point in time or in this low of activity. So I hope everybody has a great day now, guys. Stay safe, of course. Until then, see you guys in the next video. Peace.